All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the real price of all this progress in AI. We're going to follow the thread from, believe it or not, a single line of code all the way out to the edge of space, and try to understand the hidden costs of our own ambition. So get this. In just 1 year, the memory of AI models, what they call their context windows, it grew by a whopping 78 times. But, that number isn't really the story. It's just a symptom, a clue to a much, much bigger shift that's happening all around us.
And this, right here, is the crucial point. AI has officially moved out of the lab and onto the factory floor. This isn't just an experiment anymore. It's a new industrial engine, and that changes absolutely everything.
You see, the story of AI's big leap forward wasn't about one single aha moment. It wasn't some lone genius in a garage. It was about a relentless grinding drumbeat of operational power. It was about building and scaling and just laying down a whole new industrial baseline for what is even possible. I mean, the scale here is just breathtaking. We're talking about a single AI model being trained on more GPUs than most countries even own. We're talking about massive projects like Stargate, that's a data center network that's going to need more power than New York City. This is AI going from an abstract idea to very real, very concrete, and very power-hungry infrastructure.
So that begs the question, right? When a technology industrializes this fast, what kind of systems does it end up building? What's really happening here is that the whole nature of automation is changing. It's not just getting faster or bigger, it's becoming something else.
We are moving from a world of instructions to a world of intent. And I gotta tell you, that's not just a new step on the same old staircase. It's like we've walked into a completely different building. And this right here just nails the core architectural trade that we're all making, whether we realize it or not. See, old systems did exactly what you told them to do, period. These new AI agents, they do what they think you mean. And that little difference, that's everything. So here's the trade, laid out plain and simple. We are actively swapping the rigid, predictable certainty of the old way for the fluid, adaptive power of these new AI agents. On the one hand, we gain this incredible ability to handle messy, ambiguous situations, but what we give up is predictability. And maybe, most importantly, we give up absolute control. Which, of course, leads to a huge question. What kind of economic engine is so powerful that it's pushing us to make this kind of fundamental trade-off? The answer isn't just about cool tech. It's really found in the new kind of economy that's popping up all around this powerful and, frankly, unpredictable system. We were promised this army of AI agents that would free us up from all the boring cognitive work. But what we're actually getting is a whole new economic structure. It's got its own set of rules and its own brand new workforce. And this new class sits at the very heart of a system that capitalism has optimized not for what's useful, necessarily, but for what's extractable. Every prompt we type, every little correction we make, that isn't just us getting our work done. It's also us training the next AI model for free. And this creates this bizarre self-referential loop, the snake eating its own tail. Over time, the real signal of human insight gets watered down, and the system just learns to mimic the style of intelligence without any of the substance. And what it produces has been called slop, and it's being made at an industrial scale. So this is where it gets really personal. This is where the consequences start to touch our sense of agency, our ability to think for ourselves, and maybe even the actual wiring inside our brains. And it's wild, but it turns out two philosophers, separated by centuries, perfectly describe the exact tension we now face every single time we pick up our phones. So, on one hand, you've got Spinoza. He believed that to be free, you have to understand the system that's trying to control you. Makes sense. But then you have Schopenhauer, who argued that deep down, we're all driven by this blind primal will that our rational minds just can't control. And the algorithms? They're experts at exploiting that blind will, even when our rational brain knows exactly what's happening. And these algorithmic systems are brutally effective at reinforcing our own invisible ropes. They learn our old patterns, our outdated fears, and they just feed them right back to us, keeping us tethered to a version of reality that might not even be real anymore. It's our own wiring that holds us back, not some physical rope. So let's zoom out one last time, because this cascade of consequences, it doesn't just stop with us as individuals. It scales all the way up and starts to challenge the very purpose of the nation-state itself. See, states don't really fail because they're immoral or evil. At the end of the day, they fail when they just stop being useful. And that utility, that usefulness, you can actually measure it. You can almost think of it like a simple equation. A state's legitimacy equals the value it provides, things like security and predictability, divided by the cost of survival for its citizens. Now, when that bottom number, the total cost of just surviving, grows faster than the value the state can provide, the whole system's legitimacy starts to collapse.
And this is the great paradox of AI. On one hand, it could make physical goods abundant, right? Which would lower the economic cost of survival. But at the exact same time, it could cause a total collapse in our social inventory. Our purpose, our status, our identity. And that would make the existential cost of survival explode. The bottom of the equation still skyrockets.
So this cascade of consequences, from the system to the self to the state, is now, believe it or not, pushing up against the physical limits of our planet. The industrial scale of AI is just so immense. It's running into real-world limits on power and land and water that companies are now seriously actually planning to move the next generation of data centers off-planet, into space. $400 million. And get this, that's not for the data center itself. No, that's the projected cost just to launch its cooling system. We're talking 15 football fields worth of radiators. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's the frankly absurd physical scale that industrialized AI now demands.
So we've traveled from a single line of code all the way to the edge of space. And the final question isn't really about our machines at all. It's about us. We're building these incredible tools to solve the world's problems, but have we built the self-awareness to manage them? Because in the end, this whole revolution isn't a story about technology. It's a story about the hidden price of our own ambition and whether we're truly willing to pay it.